Hey Canucks fans, welcome to another edition of Ask Me Anything. I'm Canuck Clay. I'm the founder of the GLCPC, the Good Looking Canucks Positivity Club. This is my Canucks take on one take. It's Clay's Canucks commentary for Sunday, September the 12th. If you're new, here's what you should do. Hit the subscribe button for daily Canucks insight that's positive, timely, and trustworthy. And as always, this vlog is brought to you by Perform and Transform, personal training and weight loss. Sign up now in the link in my descriptions for a free 7-day trial. Actually, I want to give a shout out to Patrick Liu and the team at Perform Transform. Joined them back on September, about a week ago, Labor Day weekend, and I've actually lost 4 pounds already in the first week. So feeling a lot better, but enough of that. I just wanted to brag a little bit. Outside today, it's simply too nice to be inside, and if we hear a bit of wind, that's okay. I think it's worth the sacrifice. A lot of great questions posted on my community tab. Thank you. And let's get right into them. Lucas Gates, hero member, says this: possibility of Pacific Division showing signs of weakness. So is it possible for the Canucks to exploit the opportunity to run for it? Absolutely yes. And this actually goes into another question from Cango711. Says, where do you think each team will place in the Pacific Division? I actually think the Canucks have an opportunity, not guaranteed, but an opportunity to finish as high as second. I also think they could finish as low as 6. So hear me out. I think Vegas is still the cream of the crop in the Pacific. I still think Anaheim and San Jose are going to be down at below. And then I do think Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, Seattle, and LA will all be fighting, those 5 teams fighting for 3 spots, 2, 3, and 4. And then, of course, 5 and 6. Seattle, I'm not sold on. I not just because they're our new rival. I just don't think they're going to be that good. And LA might be a year or 2 away still. So I'm going to be bold. I'm going to say if the Canucks play well, stay healthy, that they can finish as high as second. So here's my standings as of now, September 12th. I'll go Vegas, Vancouver. Then I'll go Edmonton, Calgary, LA, Seattle, San Jose, Anaheim. No, Anaheim, San Jose. So again, Vegas, Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, LA, Seattle, Anaheim, San Jose. But that could change as early as tomorrow. Hero member Justin Credible says this will be a day. This is the day after September 11th. Yes, yes, indeed. Is my mind on your mind today in prayer and reflection? Good for you, Justin. Me too. Where were you when it happened in 2001? And what sort of inspiration and hope can we draw from those tragic events to help us live a more intentional life going forth? Love the question. Love how deep it is. I won't spend all 10 minutes talking about this one question, but I think it's a really good one. I was in my condo. Gail and I were in a condo before we were in this present house, and Sean was only a month old because he was born on August the 2nd. And Gail's dad was in town visiting us from the Philippines. So it was me, Gail, Sean, and Gail's dad. We were there. I was getting ready for work, and I actually heard it on like Z95 or whatever the popular station was at the time. Turned on the TV, and I was in shock at what I saw. Still went to work downtown working for PricewaterhouseCoopers, and then they sent us home at lunchtime. What can we draw going forth? It sounds very trite or very, very kind of stereotypical to say, well, don't take life for granted and hold your loved ones tighter. But I think that's really what I learned from it is you never know. Like, I don't know much about world politics and world this, that. But I think where it hits home is imagine if something like that, even much to a smaller scale, happened here to me, to my family, to my friends, to my church community, to my coworkers, to this Canucks community, whatever it may be. Imagine if a bunch of us were in a building and something like that happened. So it does put things into perspective. You never know when something like that's going to happen, but you can't worry about that. I think for me, it's about making sure that truly I live every life, every day to its fullest. I do not take life or friendships or relationships for granted or health for granted. And even a small thing is not going to bed angry or bitter or mad at anyone, I think is a practical way for me to move on going forward. LA Women's Hoops, a very similar question, wrote this yesterday. So today is 9/11. How did Canadians find out about 9/11? What was the coverage like, 24/7 or just a couple minutes segment on the news? No, it was completely wall-to-wall coverage. Because obviously the United States as our closest ally and closest neighbors, it was all over every radio station, every TV station for sure. So it was indeed 24/7 coverage for those first few days. I remember that for sure. Enzi, So there are a lot of comparables from Canucks on this team to Canucks on previous teams. Pettersson to Henrik, Horvat to Linden, Besser to Kessler, Oyel to Edler, and Podkolzin to Bure. What strikes you as the most similar comparison? Good question. I think Podkolzin to Bure is not a good comparison just yet. I don't think Besser to Kessler is a fair comparison because although they're both American, Besser is more of an offensive player, whereas Kessler was a prominent shutdown center. I think PD to Henrik maybe down the road, but it's still too early. And PD is a different type of player. Yes, they're both centers. They're both from Sweden. I think the two that are closest are Oyel to Edler, given that they wear the same number. They're both Swedish. They're both defensemen that were good in their prime. And the one I like the most is Horvat to Linden because they play a similar way. Not exactly, but they play a similar way. Linden was a bit bigger. They're both captains, obviously. They're both thrust into leadership roles at young ages. So if for me, Horvat to Linden is the best, then Oyel to Edler is the second best, then Henrik to Pettersson, and then Besser to Kessler, much less, and Podkolzin to Bure. I think that's too early to say. Karan, what are your expectations from Travis Green this season? With the core he has now, do you think he can be one of the top coaches in the league? Karan, great question. And yes, I do think he can be one of the top coaches in the league if the Canucks indeed perform well. Now, I think he's got the strongest forward group that he's had in his 5 years here. Defense still a little suspect, but when hasn't it been? And I think goaltending will be fine in Demko and Halak. So I think this is the best team he's had in 5 years. Now let's see what he can do with it. New assistant coaches. I'm excited for him, and yeah, I think he can be maybe a dark horse candidate for the coach of the year. But let's see if the Canucks can fight for a playoff spot and be a top 10 team in the league before we start to have those type of questions. Quacky, who do you think would have the most impact on the team right now, Henrik or Daniel? Love this question. I think I like them both equally, but I think Henrik was more, you could argue, slightly more important as a center and as a captain back when they played. However, I think right now, given our center depth, with Pettersson, with Horvat, with Miller if you need him there, with Dickinson, with Sutter, I think Daniel would be actually a more impactful player on this team. As a winger, then you can play him on the left wing, either on the top line or the second line, and that pushes Höglander, Podkolzin down the third line, and then your team's even stronger. So I just think Daniel would have more impact on the team than Henrik right now. That dude says this: if Parkousen starts on the second line and stays on it through the season, do you see him getting over or under 50 points? Just slightly under, just because I don't think he's going to play power play one time. So if he plays the whole season and is healthy on the second line, I expect between 40 and 45 points. Remember, Höglander played the whole line, basically the whole season on the second line, and he got 27 and 56, basically half a point a game or a point every 2 games. If you say Podkolzin's going to do the same thing, then we're looking at 40 to 45 points. So I'd say under 50. Crispy Assassin, will the Canucks have fans with full capacity at the start of the regular season? I don't think so. I got the sense from Dr. Bonnie Henry speaking, or maybe it was the Premier, John Horgan, that's going to be later in the fall. That's my guess. And then when will the tickets go on sale? Usually in the middle of September, so probably in the next couple weeks or so. Curtis, do the Canucks make any more moves before the start of the season besides signing PD and Hughes? No, I think they're done because the only thing they'd have to do is if negotiations are going horribly, they'd have to move out a tiny bit more money. I don't know how you do that, though. So my guess is no more moves except for those two. Jaskran, what dark horse team can win the Stanley Cup? If you call the Florida Panthers a dark horse, I'm saying them. I've seen them ranked as high as the top 6 with the Vegases and Colorados and, Tampa Bays and Torontos of the world. But, Florida's kind of always lived in Tampa Bay's shadow. They've kind of made it to playoffs, but haven't had much success. I think I meant to look this up, but I think I know I've always been pretty high on Florida. So maybe Florida is the team that if you consider them a dark horse, that they could have a good chance at winning this year. Cam says, what are your thoughts on your cousin losing his job in Toronto? Thanks for the question, Cam. I've talked about this on a couple other vlogs. I can't say too much right now because I think Dusty is still contemplating his next move. I think it's unfortunate to go from being with the biggest organization in the NHL to out of a job. However, I don't think the full story is out there yet. Dusty is a grown man, makes his own decisions. But my gut feeling in just speaking to him very quickly over text, we haven't had a good chat yet, is there might be more to this story. So that's probably all I'm going to say right now. But of course, it's unfortunate. I would love that leaf just hit me in the head. Isn't it funny how we're talking about the Maple Leafs organization and a leaf just hit me in the head? Anyways, I think there's more to the story, and I'll wait for him to share it. But thank you for the question, Cam. Chris, starting lineup prediction for opening night. Okay, here we go. I got Pettersson, Besser, and Miller on the top line. I got Horvat with Garland, and I can go out on Lynn and say Podkolzin on the second line. I have Hoglander and Pearson on the third line with Jason Dickinson, and the fourth line of Sutter, McEwen, and Highmore. I'd put Mott in there, but rumor is that he's going to be hurt. So pairings, let's go Ekman-larsson with Pullman, Hughes, Hamonic, and then I love it to be Rathbone with Myers on the third pairing. It might be Hunter Ulevi, given Rathbone doesn't need to clear waivers, but I'm going to go on a limb and say Rathbone. And then, of course, Demko starting a net with Halak backing up. So I guess my two hot takes there is Podkolzin starts on the second line, and Rathbone is the third left shot D-man. Isla is a Canadian. Which of the Canadian rally point moments, sports events from recent memory makes you most proud? You gave the examples of Canadian Olympic women's soccer gold, Montreal Canadiens to the finals, Leila Fernandez making the U.S. Open, Penny Oleksiak becoming the most decorated Canadian Olympian. I say you could put Andre DeGrasse in there. You could also say Canada Women's World Championship in hockey. Out of all those, I'm going with the women's soccer. I think there was redemption at play, getting revenge over the U.S. on a international stage. I go with the women's soccer. I got up early. I was so pumped for that entire game. So I'll go with that. I think if Layla would have won yesterday, maybe that would be right up there too. I was very excited for her. And I also thought, all your examples were good, but I'm going to go with the women's soccer team, and then Leila Fernandez second. And if Leila had won yesterday, maybe she would be in first. That was kind of coming from nowhere. Pretty cool. And lastly, Teresita says, NBA question. Do you think Vancouver should get a team back? Of course I do. I love it. I had a jam-pack win every year. No offense, but the Raptors are Toronto's team. Yeah, no offense taken. Would you cheer them on more than the Raptors? Of course. Of course. If we had a Vancouver team, I would cheer them on over the Raptors. I have no problem cheering for the Raptors when they're the only Canadian team. I actually like the team. I like the way the organization's run. I like most of the players. So I wouldn't go anti-Toronto just because we don't have a team anymore. But of course, I would love a team like the Grizzlies back here in Vancouver. Okay, my friends, great questions. Going forward, I'm just going to answer one per person. It just keeps these flowing a bit better. But if you have more questions you want to ask me, join me tonight, 10 p.m., my live stream twice a week now, Sunday nights and Wednesday nights. Tonight will be the first one. So I hope first one of going twice a week for the first time in a while. So I hope you join me, and thanks for all your questions. I hope I answered them to your satisfaction. Shout out to my hero members, nucksfan number 29, Justin Credible, and Lucas Gates, and to my Hall of Fame members, Jens95, simalexander, Chris Seifried, Adam Broomfield, Shannon Hollingworth, and Andrew Chang. Thanks for your support as always, and thanks to the support of all members of all levels. You are listed in my video descriptions below. If you want to become a member of the CCC Crew, press the join button underneath this or in my videos, or in the memberships tab on my YouTube channel. Thanks again. Leave a comment below with your reaction to any of my answers. I hope to see you at 10 p.m. tonight for Clay's Canucks commentary live. Subscribe if you like to, like this video if you like to, become a member of this channel if you like to, leave a comment if you like to. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, and take care of each other. Have a great day. God bless, and go Canucks go.